My name is Gabrielle Radner. I manage the Hearing Connect department of the JDA here in North Finchley in North London. I trained as a hearing therapist actually because I discovered it in the careers library at university. I did a French degree and I wasn't sure what I was going to do after that, and I was interested in communication, and I just found hearing therapy. I found a leaflet on it, so I decided to go for it. I got on the course, which was at the City Lit Centre at the time, and it involved training to be a lip reading teacher. It involved just generally helping people who more often than not have an acquired hearing loss, so people who lose their hearing over time or perhaps even suddenly. I don't tend to work that much personally with signers. I work more with people who are finding it difficult to acclimatise to having a hearing loss and finding it difficult to manage. Generally, what happens, or what can happen, is that people get hearing aids. They find it difficult to acclimatise to them sometimes. They're not sure how best to use them, how best to wear them, and a hearing therapist will give a lot of help and support in that department, as well as coping with tinnitus management and lip reading and the best use of residual hearing. Here at our Technology and Information Centre, I've got a wide range of equipment that people can come here by appointment and try out. Generally, they might say to me that they're not managing on the phone as well as they did, or they're not managing at all. They can't watch television as effectively because they can't understand what's being said. They can't hear the doorbell. They can't hear the phone ring. Perhaps they need help being woken up in the morning because the alarm clock doesn't wake them up. So there's all different circumstances and all different devices that can make a really considerable difference to people's lives. For example, you can get phones that amplify incoming speech and clarify it so that people realise that they don't have to struggle as much as perhaps they were. They can simply turn the volume up and really notice quite a considerable difference. They can try out television amplifiers so that they are plugged in. The amplifier is plugged into the television, and they are wirelessly connected to it via a device that's paired, and they can amplify the television as much as they need to without actually turning the television up and disturbing the rest of the family or neighbours, as sometimes happens. You can get alarm clocks with vibrating pads that go under the pillow, so that if somebody doesn't get woken up by the sound of the alarm clock, then the pad will just vibrate and wake them up. It's not the most pleasant way of waking up, but it's very effective. And you know, there's a lot more. There are answering machines that slow down the answering messages. Most people with a hearing loss will say that they find it very hard to understand answering machine messages. So if you can amplify them and slow them down without distorting it, that can make a huge difference. There are portable doorbells that you can get, which ring very loudly and flash. Another difficulty would be that somebody might say that they can only hear the doorbell if they're right next to the door, and if they're expecting a delivery, they'll have to wait next to the door all day. Whereas with these portable doorbells, they could go and sit in the garden and bring the doorbell with them. Or go upstairs or go to the bathroom if they need to. So actually these small, relatively simple devices can make a huge difference. You can get little listening devices which enable you to isolate the sound that you want to hear. Hearing aids, although generally very effective on a one-to-one basis in a quiet room, will amplify everything. Even the more sophisticated hearing aids will do this to an extent. So going to a restaurant or a pub or any type of function or anywhere like that can be very difficult for a hearing aid user. And if you can use your hearing aids in conjunction with equipment that isolates the sound you want to hear, or even instead of hearing aids, then you can have a very good conversation with somebody and block out all background noise. They're little loop systems, really, that you can take round with you. This centre is one of the few with as many different options of equipment that exist. There aren't really many others around that are like this. And it enables people to come here, have an hour-long consultation calmly and really stress-free, because we don't sell anything. We're just an advisory service. So it enables them to come here, to try out a few phones, to find out which one works best for them, so that when they do decide to buy it, I can show them where they can get it from. I can order it for them if it helps, which I do sometimes. And they've tried it. They know they can hear on it, and they're quite confident when they buy it, because it's not something that they've just picked randomly and hoped for the best for. And that's the case with all the equipment here. They can try it, and they can also get advice. I can give tinnitus retraining therapy, so that people who are struggling with tinnitus, which is tinnitus are noises in the ear or the head that nobody else can hear, if they are struggling, it can really be very helpful to learn how to manage it, to put it into perspective, to learn relaxation techniques, to learn perhaps how to regard it less negatively. That can help a lot and does help. And the whole ethos of this environment really is to give people the support that they might feel that they don't have on a day-to-day basis, to try out equipment, to get advice on tinnitus, to get advice on other charities that give advice and help and information. We also have a hearing aid drop-in clinic once a week. So people who live in the borough of Barnet can come along every Monday between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. and have their hearing aids retubed, cleaned, generally maintained. They can get new batteries. They won't do anything incredibly technical with the hearing aids that you'd have to go back to the audiology department for, but for regular maintenance you can come here every Monday, and that service is called the Here to Help service, run by Action on Hearing Loss. So in that way we work closely with other charities. Action on Hearing Loss also have one of their Here to Meet groups here at the JDA, and people will come along on the third Thursday of every month, and every time it will be something different. It will be perhaps a speaker, or they'll watch a film with subtitles, or they'll have a quiz, and it's an environment where they can feel safe in. It's run specifically for people with a hearing loss. So people are encouraged not to speak over each other, not to speak too quickly, to make sure that everybody who's there can access everything that's going on, so that they don't have to go and feel isolated. We have lip reading classes here. We've got a wonderful lip reading teacher, Marilyn, who is profoundly deaf herself. So not only is she a great teacher, but she's a fantastic inspiration. Students come along and they do learn about lip shapes and about techniques and different ways of learning to lip read, but it isn't just that. It's the support that people get from coming to the class. It's the support of meeting other people who are going through the same sorts of difficulties on a day-to-day basis, because quite often people can't talk to their relatives or their friends in a way which gives them that sort of support of knowing that, yes, you understand because you're going through it. We also have an audiologist who comes here once every 6 weeks. He comes here on a purely impartial basis. Nathan Gluck, his name is. He will give advice on hearing aids in the private sector or in the NHS, without sort of pushing one or the other. He gives totally impartial advice, because quite often people will have more technical questions about hearing aids than I could answer. They'll ask questions about the specific differences between what you can get privately or what is available on the NHS, and he'll be able to answer those questions. And he comes here once every 6 weeks. We also have a book club. The book club is run by our lovely Liz, who's a retired teacher. She also has a hearing loss, and it's fantastic because it's an environment where you can talk about books. The books are chosen by the people who come to the book club. There's a general consensus, and they decide together and then discuss it. And again, it is run for people with a hearing loss. So people speak one at a time. They don't babble, they don't talk over each other. And we have found that what we really love to do here is provide a service that people need, because perhaps they were going to the same sort of thing before but had to stop because they just couldn't understand what was going on. So perhaps they loved their book club, but they went to the book club and just, sat there and couldn't follow what was being said, whereas we are offering the same sort of thing but specific to their needs. So they don't have to come here and worry that they won't understand or worry that they'll be left out. Nobody in any of the things we run is left out at any point. Everybody is included and encouraged, if they feel ready, encouraged to participate. So it's a very welcoming and friendly environment. And, we often have people here who perhaps have lost quite a lot of confidence, and it's amazing to see how their confidence grows and how they flourish in an environment that is welcoming and safe and understanding. A wonderful example I can think of is a gentleman who came to see me. He was a teacher, and he taught at Art College. His hearing had deteriorated to the extent that he was unable to follow what the students were saying. He couldn't hear on the phone in his office, and he was actually very worried as well as very upset. It had taken over his personal as well as his professional life. And he came here, we tried a phone, I showed him a listening device which he could pair with various microphones that he could put in places in the classroom, and it quite literally turned his life around. He was able to hear on the phone. He actually found a cordless phone and a corded phone that he could hear well on. He had a system installed in the classroom that enabled him to hear his students, and it was a fantastic experience to be able to help him, and obviously for him to know that just a visit here. He actually came from Cambridge, and so he came a fair distance to see us here. But what a turnaround it proved to be, and what an amazing difference it made to his life. And it really enabled him to, that the stress had been alleviated to a huge extent. And that sort of thing gives you the most incredible job satisfaction. You can't put a price on that sort of job satisfaction, or even on the joy that somebody gets from knowing that something they thought they might never be able to do again, they can do, and they can do effectively and well, and continue to enjoy it. And we have volunteers who help us here as well. The people who run the Action on Hearing Loss hearing aid service are volunteers. Not everybody can come to see me. Some people can't come here and try out equipment. So I have a fantastic set of volunteers who will take a phone or a listener or both, or a doorbell, to people's homes if they're housebound, or if they can't get out very much. They'll take them to them, and they'll try the phone out in their house or the doorbell out in their house, whatever it is. And, you know, how fantastic to be able to do that. So, you know, I suppose for any charity, particularly for us, because we really feel it all the time, volunteers are amazing. They help you to provide a service you wouldn't be able to provide as effectively without them. And that's great.